Hello, hello. I am Andra Annette, and welcome to Healing from the Inside Out. So today I have a very special guest with me, Violet Detre. I'm saying it wrong. I know I am. So she is a Christian coach, and she is a happiness advocate. She is a speaker. She is an author. So she has special certifications at master's degree level and bachelor degree levels in coaching, and I really like what she's about. So it is her vision to live an abundant life on earth as we do in heaven, right? Um, so she really helps women with happiness and finding joy. And she's written 3 books, and we will have her as a guest to talk more about those books. Um, I had met her previously, and we had talked about things that I think are very prevalent that a lot of people don't really want to talk about. And it was her goal to find more joy in her life. So please help me welcome Violet Detre. It's right in front of me. Hi, hi, hi.
Hi, Andra. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm so thrilled to have you. So when we had spoken, you were talking about becoming a Christian as early as 8 years old. So you are married. You've been married 28 and a half years, I think, right? Which is no small feat. I've been married a very long time myself, and I know it's not easy. But you also, and he's an Army veteran, I believe, right? So, but as a child, even though you had that strong faith and you were a Christian, you suffered a lot with illnesses and depression, right? And you just really, really wanted to find more joy in your life. So I think that so many people feel that way and just aren't honest about it, because there's been so many stigmas around depression and anxiety and mental health issues that so many people don't come forward, and so many people are suffering. So it's stories like yours that help people move past that and say, look how happy she is. And she went on to write a book, and she's helping other people, and she's speaking out about it. And that gives them hope that they can do those things too. So tell us a little bit about your story and what that was like.
Well, when I was young, I'm not sure of the age. I believe it was around maybe 5 years old that my great uncle he molested me. Thank God that I was able to stand up for myself, and I asked him, "What are you doing?" And he got mad, so he never touched me again. Um, but that just caused something in me emotionally that I didn't know how to process, and I was blocking out in order to protect myself. I say that I built a wall, and I started being detached. I wasn't the happy-go-lucky, all smiley little Violet that I was from the beginning. Um, but building that wall, trying to protect myself, it kept myself from a whole bunch of good stuff that could have gotten to me. And plus, that also caused, some health issues, bowel movement issues, and immunity issues. And then after that, I had braces and I had mercury in my teeth. So that caused an exponential amount of toxicity. And I would always ask my mom, why are my peers, they're going out and doing fun things right after school? And I'm always exhausted, don't have energy to do fun things. I was successful at school, though. I was a gifted and talented student, and I could pass any test you gave me. I thought it was fun to get homework and everything. And it was a safe place for me because it was very structured, and I knew what to do, and I knew how to give a good output. But once I graduated, it was like, okay, now what? The training wheels came off, and whatever I was trying to do wasn't working. Everything that people said I was going to be, I wasn't getting it. You know, I was like, well, I guess the Bible is not true. I guess God is not really, for me. I feel like he's mad at me. Also because over the pulpit, and maybe this was me filtering it in a certain way, that I felt like you're bad, you're bad, you're bad. You gotta fix this, fix this, fix this. And I'm like, why can't I get it right? I'm so lost and miserable. And, then I came to San Antonio to go to college, and my mom said, oh, there's a youth group there, and they give pizza out. And for me, like, hey, if you want to get to my heart, speak to my stomach. So I was like, yes, I'm going to this church. Awesome. And, I was baptized in the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues. We would go out evangelizing, preaching the gospel, saying we had the answer, but yet I was still, suffering, didn't know what to do with my life. I had panic attacks at my jobs. I would make all these mistakes because I had terrible brain fog and anxiety, and I just couldn't get it together. And then, in my church, we believed and we saw like all these supernatural miracles. So my mom, she reached out to me and said my grandfather was, not doing well. So I stopped and prayed, and I felt this peace. I felt God said, he's going to be okay. So I said, yay, he's healed. All right. And a couple of days later, I found out he passed away. And I was like, God, I feel so betrayed, because if you had told me, hey, go visit him, these are the last days you're going to be able to spend with him, I would have rushed home. I would have done whatever it took. We weren't that close or anything, but still, he was a person that I respected, and we grew up with him, visiting them every weekend. So that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. So, I had already tried multiple suicide attempts before, but that time, you know, um, I just gave up on my faith, and I was living like a person who didn't know Christ. And then it was 10 years ago when my husband, he heard from Holy Spirit, get home right for dinner. And he was in the military back then, and he's not the type of guy that goes against rules, goes against, what they expect of him. Plus, basically the army owns you, and you have to go through the chain of command and just obey. But he's like, okay, no matter what, I'm getting home, gonna follow Holy Spirit prompting. He found me on our living room floor. He said that he touched me, and my body was cold, I was unconscious, and my skin was gray. But he rushed me to the ER, and they were able to bring me back to life, because I had, built this toxic cocktail, and I said, that's it. I can't handle this anymore. But God had other plans.
And yes, yes, he does. He has much more for you to do. So I know that there is a lot of teen suicides today, right? So if you could look at your younger self, right? Because where we are now, like if we could teach our younger selves what we know now, what a different life it would be, right? If we could go to those children and hug them and say it's going to be okay, at that time when we're going through things. I was chronically depressed as a kid, and I just didn't understand it. I mean, I did understand it later when I found out everything that was wrong with me, but when I was in that, it felt like nobody would understand. So when I think about you telling, being a Christian and being in faith and believing and then feeling betrayed and then taking that betrayal and wanting to end it, it's sad that you got to that place where you felt like you couldn't talk to anybody. And luckily, your husband found you. But how did you turn your faith around from there? Was it because you lived and you didn't die and you knew that there was more for your story? What made you say, because when we had talked last, you said you wanted to find more joy. So you set out on this little expedition to find more joy in your life. And I just thought that was like a great way to say it because, it's hard to be sad and be full of joy. It's hard to have faith and not believe. And I think as Christians that our faith is tested a lot, especially with everything that's going on in society, right? And you know, there's just a lot of bad in the world. It's hard to see. A lot of people might think that's God's hand, but it's not. That's what we were given, freedom of choice. So he didn't create this, we did. And a lot of people don't understand that. And I know that it's hard to be in a Christian faith and not feel like you're doing what they want from you, or to be in a place in your life and feel like you're just not getting it. You don't understand where you're supposed to be, right? So, what did you want to do when you were younger that you felt like you just weren't getting? Because you excelled in school, right? So, what did you, if you could have had anything you wanted to be when you were younger, what would that have been? What would have been the career path that you had chosen?
Well, there was not necessarily a career path. I did have a strong inkling because I was really good at math and science. You know, numbers were my friend, because I was a latchkey kid, so communication wasn't something that was practiced at my house. My parents loved me their own way, and my mom was very servant driven, and she still is. So they did, but they didn't really know, especially because my parents, they didn't educate my parents how to be parents either. My mom came from orphaned children. You know, her parents were orphaned. So, but they did the best they could, and um, I knew, and also, I got these presidential academic fitness awards. I always got this recognition. We were the cream of the crop. We were supposed to like be the leaders. So for me, it was just some high level job, whether it be executive job or inventing something that could make a difference in the world and make a lot of money, and be able to use that money for godly things, and just be a winner basically. But instead, my brain, which sometimes, us as people, we still kind of have challenges with that comparison.
Yeah.
I saw the world was thriving and I was over here struggling and couldn't figure it out.
It's very hard, and I think that society kind of sets people up for that, you know, um, to look outside ourselves. I think we're raised to look outside of ourselves and see what other people have for answers, right? Because we think we don't know them. So how did you turn that around? Because it wasn't just one suicide attempt, it was several. There were several times where you felt like you just couldn't go on anymore. So how did you take that and turn it around? Because you're still a Christian, you still are active in that you are a Christian coach, you're helping other Christian women. So what was that point, that pivot that made you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I have to have more joy in my life. And what was that turning point? Did you talk to people at the church after that had happened? And did you get counseling? Or did you just figure it out on your own with support from people that loved you?
Well, when I started going to that church with the what I thought was going to be free pizza, but um yeah, I started getting some healing, and I did talk to my parents about everything that had happened. And all throughout that time, I kept looking for help, looking for help. I was like into personal development and reading some books, and how do I fix this? I know something's wrong with me. I've got to be able to fix it. I went to vocational rehab to try to get help from them. And in the Bible it says to go to the elders and they will pray for you so you can get healed. So I tell everybody that I asked everybody and their grandma to pray for me, but it didn't feel like there was any movement. I was always sick, I was always tired, and I couldn't find how I was supposed to bring income. So I felt like, I felt like a burden. I feel like people would be, and this is very common with people that have suicidal ideation, that they feel like people would be better off without them, and they lose hope. But and I love Bill Johnson's term for God sometimes, that is Jehovah Sneaky. And he is so gracious and merciful that after after I survived, I was like, okay, now what am I gonna do? And I went out and I was actually not living the Christian life still, hanging out with women that I felt weren't judging me. So that's one thing. How are you supposed to get help from people that are going to judge you, that are going to feel like, oh, you're not a real Christian if you're suffering with these issues? So these people were acting like, hey, anything's good, anything goes, let's go out and just have fun. And when I was hanging out with those people, I started feeling this funny feeling that I hadn't felt in a long time. And I said, wow, this feels good. What is it? Oh my God, I'm feeling happiness. I feel happy. And then my doctor, he told me it's important to get sun and exercise. And I'm like, well, that sounds like beach time. And beach time made me feel good. So the more I did stuff that made me feel good, I said, wow, I can actually feel happy even though I'm going through all these challenges. So that was like the birth of a switch inside of me. I want more of this. I want to feel good, not the way I was feeling all these decades when I was under a cloud and self-critical of myself and hating myself and being judgmental of myself. But I want more of this. How do I get more of this? And then I was sitting on my couch one time when we were living in Florida in this really nice house with a lanai, and it had like these doors that opened up all the way. But I was in the den at the time, and I was about to go into one of those spirals, questioning and wondering. And I felt myself, almost starting to go into that depression again. But God stopped me and He said, Violet, I love you whether you do what I tell you or you don't do anything at all. I love you fully and unconditionally. And man, that just like, whew, lifted a big weight off my shoulders because I thought it was up to me, you know? And sometimes believers, they still think that. They think that God does the saving, but then after that, it's up to you. It's up to you to stay in the kingdom. It's up to you to keep your Christian card. And it's not. And then after that, I forgot who introduced us to this. I think it was TBN through that Christian channel. I was led to Pastor Joseph Prince, who wrote a book called Destined to Reign and the Power of Right Believing. When my husband and I read that book and started following Pastor Prince, everything changed. My mind changed, my emotional health changed, my marriage changed. I totally was a new person. And then also, I was introduced to a naturopathic doctor who said, I know exactly what's wrong with you. So, after struggling with traditional medicine and speaking of seeking mental health, I went to a Christian psychiatrist who, after one of his sessions, I felt like jumping out the window in his office.
Oh,
and
wow.
there was a psychologist also that told me to my face, you're not as bad as you think. Really? I want to go jump in front of a bus right now. And what do you mean? But this naturopathic doctor, he said, I know exactly what's wrong with you health wise. And, we're going to put you on a protocol. I've dealt with people that have your issue before. And I was basically living at the hospital, getting blood tests, trying to figure out and getting accused by doctors that I'm a hypochondriac or that it was just boredom. That's what was wrong with me. And this
It's very
naturopathic,
sad that you were dismissed in that way. It's very sad.
yeah, but thank God, I guess God never gave up on me. He brought me the right resources finally. And man, I just started to get better in every way. My life got transformed. And for me, while I was trying to heal, when I heard this glimmer of hope that I can get better physically, um, something came to my mind that, oh, cancer patients, they get better by being positive. Plus, my body couldn't handle at that time. I was so weak and toxic that if I would get mad, that's it. My head would hurt, my stomach would twist and turn. I had a migraine, I would just have to go to bed, and that's it. That my day gets wasted. So my body was kind of teaching me also live in a more positive state. Let go of the things that don't really matter, and putting those type of practices into place really got me to where I am today, where I love my life and I'm a totally new woman.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that because you deserve I mean, you're a beautiful woman. You deserve to have a happy life, right? And there's nothing impossible with God in our lives. Nothing. And I'm a firm believer that he's my number one guy. But the truth is there's no men or women in heaven. So
Right.
unfortunately, there's no men and women, there's no sexes in heaven.
Yeah.
So what would you tell somebody who was feeling the way you did? Because um, I think the audience wants to know. I mean, to get from where you were then, I mean, several suicide attempts to where you are now, where your marriage is better, you're a different woman, your faith is stronger than ever. Everything in your life after you started following this positive impact has changed, right? But I don't know that if that's the only reason. I think that a lot of it was your mindset. So, most of what stands in everybody's way is the way they think about things and the way we internalize our exterior world, right? So, and our internal world, the way things happen to us, because you went through trauma. Let's not negate that you weren't through trauma at a very young age, way before anybody should be experiencing trauma. You had already lived through it, right? And the fact that it was a family member doesn't make it any easier, right? So, what would you tell someone who's been feeling like there's not going to be a better tomorrow, like this is it for them? What would you tell someone who was contemplating or maybe um suffering with suicidal ideation? What would you tell them to talk to someone, to go see a naturopath? What would be your advice to someone that's experiencing that in this moment?
Well, first of all, I'm not a professional psychologist, professional mental health provider. So it's important to go to somebody that God leads you to. And if the first one doesn't work, try and try again. Because I led a Christian suicide prevention summit with Ben Corson, and that's what he did. He had to try different mental health providers to be able to get him the right help. And for me, medication didn't work. But for other people, like I know there's some Christians that, they say, hey, I just take my pill, I pray, and for crisis situations, even though I personally don't take prescription anything anymore, including prescription antidepressants, for interrupting that for that crisis situation, it may be needed. So it's important to seek medical attention. And it is, I don't know when this is going to air, but June is Men's Mental Health Month. So there's a lot of resources out there. And one of the ones that you can reach out to right away is to dial 988. And they're there 24/7 to listen to you, to be able to provide you with resources, to hear you out, to encourage you. Um, yeah, because you're loved and you're cared for and you're here for a reason.
Yeah, and you're not alone. I think that's the message we really want to put out here today, that you're not alone. Um, so you have two women that are from different walks of life that are sitting on the same podcast that have both suffered with really bad depression in their lives. And we each dealt with it very differently. Um, well, not really. I was all about mindset for me. I just refused to give up on what I wanted. I don't think that's what led to the depression. A lot of it was trauma, like you had experienced different types of trauma, but we've made it through and we have better lives, right? So that's what I really want to impart about you, that things can happen in your life that are very difficult to overcome or to get through, and that support system is instrumental. Having the right people, whether it be church, whether it be healthcare providers, whether it be a great support system in your family or the friendships you have. But if you need help, you should feel able to reach out and get it. And if you're dismissed, because I know that happens, um, keep trying until you find someone that is the right fit for you. Even if you're not dismissed and you find a medical provider and they just don't align with you as a person, don't be afraid to find someone that you do align with, because this is serious business. Your life is serious, right? So, um, and just don't give up. Don't ever let um what you're feeling today change your outcome for tomorrow, because the best way for me to explain that is that anything that I have gone through, whether it was hard or not, like the things that you went through, tomorrow could have brought something very different. For you, it was a pizza party with great friends, right? That you got to experience in happiness and joy. And I'm an old lady, so I don't remember what it was for me. But yeah, so there's always a chance that tomorrow can turn around. So if you want to reach out to Violet, and maybe she could help you with some services. She is a Christian business coach. If you're or just if you want to talk to her and see what she went through. Um, we're not here speaking as health professionals. I am a health professional, but I wouldn't counsel someone on this. It's not my lane. I stay out of things that aren't my lane. But like she said, there are a lot of resources available. Not, you can even call the crisis hotline, the 988 that she had given you, and I just really want to thank you for coming in and listening, and for having my special guest here, right? Violet Detre. And you'll be seeing more of her because she's going to come in and talk about her books. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today from Healing from the Inside Out, and have a great evening.